Hello my friends, and welcome to another episode of my weekly gaming playlist series. It's Friday, so that means it's time for me to let you guys know about the games I've been playing this week, give you guys my thoughts and opinions on the games, whether you guys should check them out or not. Of course, I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts on the games I'm sharing with you today. If you played them before, let me know if there's something you liked about them, if there's something you didn't like about them. I'd also like to hear about the games you guys are currently playing, as that gives me ideas of new games to play and experience. And if you guys have a recommendation on any kind of game you think I might enjoy playing, let me know. I really appreciate all of your guys' recommendations, so keep those coming. Now I've got one game to share with you guys this week, and it's for the old PlayStation 1 console, as I decided to take a little break from playing my Xbox Series X, as I've been playing that console a lot this year, but I have wanted to play some more old school games. And this game, I actually just got the strategy guide in the mail for this month, and so I wanted to finally resume playing this game. I've been playing it for many years, but I've never actually beat it, and I've started it and got certain far, then started a new character, and I've done that a lot. But this one I decided to just stick through it because I want to beat it, because I'm actually a little over halfway done with the game right now, and that is a game called Darkstone for PlayStation 1. Really awesome isometric action RPG. Back in the day, people compared this to Diablo. It's a really good game. So let me read you guys stuff from the back. The once peaceful world of Uma is living under the dark shadow of the dragon Drak. Evil is spreading like a virus, and only you can stop it. Look deep inside yourself. Is there a dragon slayer within? An immersive RPG with vivid graphics and addictive gameplay. 8 playable characters and 32 environments. More than 200 enemies and interactive characters. More than 30 types of weapons and 32 different spells. So it's a pretty big game for being on the old PlayStation 1. They did eventually release this on the PC, and they fixed some of the bugs and stuff that were in the PS1 version. But they did take away some content for the PC version, so I definitely would prefer the PS1 version over the PC. And now that I have the handy strategy guide here, this has all the tips and stuff for the different quests you get to take on. So what's really interesting about this game is that there are several different levels that you go through for your quests, and every time you play the game, there's different groupings of quests, and you get one picked for you randomly. So when you play the game, it never always plays the same twice. No two games will ever be the same quest, and you won't always have the same quests to do. So there's a pool of quests that the game picks from. For the first group of levels, you could get one of those quests, and then the next group of levels you can get those quests, and the next level like that. So something that's really interesting about this game is that it always plays differently, and you get to play as different kind of characters. Like, I'm playing as a wizard character, which is one of the more difficult characters to play as, but I've always been a big fan of wizards and stuff. But you also can be a sorceress, you got your thieves, so there's a variety of characters to play as. Really good game though. Definitely think you guys should check it out, and I love having this wonderful strategy guide. Now this strategy guide was made for the PC version. It is extremely rare and hard to find. A lot of the PC guides and stuff, were in black and white, so they weren't in color. But I got very lucky to have this into the collection. Now, the same quests that were in the PS1 version are obviously in the PC version, so this has come in very handy for the quests to do. So let's check out Darkstone. Hey friends, today we're taking a look at Darkstone, a classic isometric top-down action RPG for the PlayStation 1. I have been a fan of this game ever since I played it back in the early 2000s when it launched. Now, some people kind of compare this as the poor man's Diablo, as it is similar to like Diablo, but obviously it's not as rich and detailed as the world of Diablo, but it's still a really fascinating action RPG that I definitely recommend you play on the PlayStation 1. Now, it was also released on the PC, but I prefer the PlayStation version because you can use a controller. The PC version does not have any kind of controller support at all, so you have to use the mouse and the keyboard, and I just prefer playing this with a controller. So you have the main, you have a main story that you go through. There's a few little side missions and stuff, but it's mostly just playing through the main story. But you have different kinds of characters that you can build in your hero setting here, and you can have multiple heroes if you want to play through the game multiple times. You can. You have a nice variety of different kinds of characters to play as, and they all have their own strengths and weaknesses. So you can play as a warrior, as a male. Female would be as an Amazon. You have a wizard. You have a sorceress. You have an assassin, a thief, a monk, and a priestess. And they all have different stats down below, whether your strength, and your vitality, and your dexterity. You know, your classic RPG traits. Now, I always love to play this game as a wizard, as I'm a big fan of mage characters, wizard characters and stuff. But I do have to warn you, though, that the magic characters are some of the most difficult to play in this game, as you have to rely a lot on your spells and having a lot of mana potions, because your character cannot take a lot of hits. They can die pretty quickly. So I already have a game started, so I don't need to create another character, but we'll continue. And I'm currently on level 18. And what's different and unique about this game is that it has a pool of quests that it'll pick randomly in little groupings, like levels 1 through 4. There's like 4 different quests that you can get randomly assigned to your character. And every time you play the game, it actually picks different quests. So 2 games will never play the exact same, which is really cool. And I found 4 of the crystals. And the graphics will be a little dated because this is a PlayStation 1 game and I am playing it on a modern TV. Now, obviously, if I played it on a CRT TV, you can make the picture look a little bit better. So I do have to warn you that the visuals will be a little dated looking, a little pixelated, and not be the best in graphics. But we are talking old PlayStation 1 games from over 20 years ago. So you do have to live with that. But it's got pretty good graphics for the time, I think, and it's got decent music and audio stuff as well. And for an old PlayStation 1 game, it does load pretty decently. It's not like super slow or anything. So I'm fighting some snakes here. Try not to get surrounded. And the game can get kind of dark, so you do have to adjust the brightness of your TV settings. Enemies will randomly drop loot as well. So I can show you guys the inventory menu. So you have your level, which I'm level 30. But another interesting aspect to this game, which is cool, is your character, as he levels up and as your time progresses, they actually get older. And when they start getting older, eventually, if you get too old, your character can actually die. But it also will, their skills and stuff will start to deteriorate. But you can find these elixirs of youth, which will take 5 years off your character's age. You can also find an amulet that can keep you from aging, which is really neat. So it's kind of an interesting aspect. You have to keep track of your level, but also your age. And so I am level 30, so I have my dexterity and my mana. And then you also have stuff in your bag where you can only hold, obviously you can only hold so much stuff in these games based upon your strength. And so my character can only equip certain things. Like I do have a cool wizard staff that has only does 3 to 9 damage if I actually use it, like whacking enemies with it. But it does have this wall of fire ability where I can actually use and create a fire attacks, which is pretty cool. You can equip different stuff like amulets here, which gives me +7 dexterity. Helmets, which gives me 4 protection, plus it gives me 8 extra points for my life. You also have an amulet of life I have on there. I can wear, I've got a novice cape that gives me 20 defense plus 5 to life. And then your character can wear 4 rings, which is really cool. So I have +2 to all my attributes, +1 to dexterity, +17 to mana, and all resistance are 7% more, which is really cool. I have a variety of different spells and stuff, like I have healing, I have a magic missile, I've got Berserker, I've got a magic door which I can use to teleport back to the town, I have a light, so in really dark places like here I can create light, Ray of Injury, which I can make enemies get damage, I can put a shield around myself, and I also can heal myself because you can get different status like being poisoned and stuff from snakes and poisonous enemies. Night vision, so I can see in the dark. I can make myself quicker. I have my spark attack, which you guys saw me using my lightning attacks for. I can throw magic bombs. And then detection, which I can then use to detect enemies. And there's a lot of spells you can learn for your magic characters. And then there's also various skills you can get, like identification, so I can identify weapons, because sometimes you will find items in this game that aren't identified, and you have to usually, if you don't have this skill, you have to go pay somebody in town to do it for you. Learning, so how quick you learn XP and stuff. Recharging, so I can recharge my own stuff, because as you use items, the magic ability of it gets used up and you have to recharge it. If you don't have this ability, you actually have to go to someone in town and pay them to do it for you. Once you learn it, you can do it for yourself and have free recharging, which is great. Communion, lycanthropy, I can actually turn into a werewolf, which that's kind of neat. Detection, so how I detect stuff. And then my meditation and stuff. So there is a variety of things there. And then in the bag, like I said, you can hold your stuff. I have my mana potions, +13 to mana. Different stuff enemies will drop, because you do want to take stuff and sell them as you fight, because you can only hold so much stuff. You also have to keep track of your food. So I have 16 out of 100, so you do have to buy food and consume that. So you do have to keep your character from going hungry, because if he gets down to 0, he starts losing health and stuff from starving. So you can zoom in a little bit, and then you can zoom out. Not like too much control, but you can rotate the camera any way you want. It does have a cool little menu here where you can get into the map of the different levels that you're in, and it'll tell you like where the exit is to go back to the previous dungeon above it, or to go down to the next dungeon. Any of those red doors are doors that you have not opened yet. And enemies do randomly spawn throughout the map. So sometimes they can spawn right behind you after a while, and there's a variety of different weapons, skeletons and snakes and little dragon creatures. There's just a huge variety of enemies, and the further you progress through the game, the more difficult it gets, and the more tougher the enemies they are that they send to you. So why don't I equip? I'll equip my... And this is one I can go back to the town. If you're not a magic user, you actually have to buy little portal scrolls, which basically scrolls are like a one-time use magic ability that non-magic users can use. Even me being a magic user, I could use this if I find them. But I prefer to be able to just go to the magic, using the magic door spell on my own, so I don't have to keep buying them. But you come here to the town, which normally this is like in a daytime setting, but because I progressed through the story, it's changed and gotten darker. But this is where you'll find the various NPCs you can interact with. Where this guy will teach you the different skills that you have. Master Emmerich here is where you can buy different kinds of spells, you can buy potions, and then these are those one-time use scrolls I told you guys about. You can also buy some other magical items from him. You can sell stuff to him, he can recharge things too, and then he can also give you stuff in quests and things. Here's another merchant who does buy artifacts and stuff that you find throughout the world, but you also can buy food, and then you can eat that food and stuff. So he basically keeps track of like all the food and stuff for you. You can also buy torches and stuff to use. You do have a fortune teller, Madame Irma. She can cure you for free if you need to get healed. She can identify items that aren't identified if you don't have that ability. She can release you from a spell because there are enemy wizards and enemies in the game that do have magic abilities, and they can curse you with stuff. And so you can come here and she can release you from stuff like that. So it's pretty cool little variety of characters you have. You also have a blacksmith here where you can buy weapons and, you know, different classes that you are. A thief, a wizard, a warrior, a priest. So, and you can get different weapons. And some do a lot of stuff, and some will cost a lot of money. Like I have 117,000 gold, but you can really get a lot. There's ways to farm and stuff. You can sell. You also have to repair stuff as well. As you take damage, items that you're wearing will get damaged. If they get damaged too much, they'll disappear and be useless. So you want to make sure you always pay attention to the durability of the items that you have equipped. You also can upgrade your stuff through him as well to make them stronger, so you can have more life, you know, make your armor better. So it is important to grind a little bit in this game by killing enemies and selling loot and going out and grinding back and forth, so you can level up your character as you go through the different missions and stuff. This is kind of cool. There's a little music you can have that plays. I'm just gonna for a few seconds here, but you can actually listen to a full song that this lady sings. It's kind of neat that they have that in the game. So then once you're done in the town and you know you sold everything, you got equipped back up with everything, then you can go back to the level that you were on. There is also outside world that you can go through to where you get to these dungeons outside of the town. But since I'm currently in a dungeon, I'm just going to teleport back there. And you can teleport anywhere, even up on the outside of the town. That way you don't have to run all the way back. So I like this fast travel ability of being able to go back without having to run to it, because some of these are not close to the town. And then you can see like that. Oops. Gotta switch up my magic here.
I do not have enough mana.
So you can hotkey stuff. So I have my mana potions and health potions hotkeyed to L2 and R2. And then R1 and R2 do my magic spells that I have equipped. If I hit the X button, I could do attacks with this staff, but it doesn't do a lot of damage, so I'll show you guys.
I have been poisoned.
Oop, now I've been poisoned. And whenever you hear that noise, now I gotta turn the light on so I can see this dark area. Ooh, they dropped some gold. So I'm now been poisoned. I look green, so I can use my antidote spell, and I'm no longer poisoned. Now, if you don't have that ability, you can find flasks of to get rid of poison and stuff, so you can get the stuff like that. But since I'm a wizard, I don't need it. But it's just a fun, neat little action RPG, you know. You're not going to get the quality you would get in, say, Diablo that was released for PlayStation 1, and it kind of got dubbed and nicknamed the poor man's Diablo, but it's a really fun game. I really like it. You will find random mana pools here where you can fill your mana for free, but I really have enjoyed this game, and I'm finally wanting to go and beat this game because I've gotten really far, and then I stopped playing for years, and I would restart the game over, and then do it again and again and again. I just said, you know, I want to just stick with the one game that I started and actually beat it so I can see the ending. There are different difficulty settings as well. You can start on novice, you can get to harder difficulty, and it'll tell you what level they recommend it, because the higher the difficulties, even more brutally difficult that this game is. There's one of the magic characters I was talking about, a Medusa. So he dropped a hammer, and he dropped a scepter, but I can't pick up a scepter because I have too much equipment in here. And so this is where you can drop stuff if you needed to, or you could just go back to... There we go, equip that. And you just go back to town and sell stuff. There's a little indicator by your character. You can have up to 9 potions in one slot. And so it keeps track of how many mana potions you have left and how many health potions. Once you run out of those, you have to go back in there and re-equip them.
I do not have enough mana.
So you could play, you know, wizard characters like me. You got to use magic attack, but you could also be a warrior and use melee weapons and a shield combo. You could be a thief and use a bow and arrow, which is really cool. So it really gives you a choice for the kind of characters that you want to play as in this. But I just wanted to give you guys a little preview of the game. Just something I'm really enjoying. It does have a really cool story, and it is worth checking out, especially if you're a fan of old PlayStation 1 games. This is a really cool action RPG that I definitely think you guys should check out. Alright guys, so that was a look at Darkstone for PlayStation 1. Fantastic game, I really love it. It's awesome. I do recommend playing on PlayStation over the PC, only because, you know, older PC games are kind of hard to play on new computers. And also, I just prefer the PS1 control scheme because you get to use a controller. On the PC, you can only use your mouse and keyboard, so you can't use a controller. So I would definitely recommend checking out the PS1 version of Darkstone. Really good. Now the strategy guide, like I said, is really hard to get, so if you're trying to find it, you know, it's not going to be easy. I've been looking for years and I finally found one. But there are plenty of wonderful guides online, like game facts and stuff that you can find that'll help you play through the game. And then there's all kinds of different characters that you can play as, and multiple difficulty settings. You can play at harder difficulty as you level your character up. So there's this really fun game. Like I said, if you guys have loved Diablo type games, you love those isometric action RPGs like I do, I highly recommend it. It's really good. Now, of course, because it's a PS1, the graphics aren't going to be the greatest. You know, they are going to be dated by today's standards, but it's still a really fun game. I love the variety of weapons, the magical spells you get, the NPCs. The voice acting in the game is pretty good. There's not a lot of it, but there is some. And it is pretty good voice acting for being a PS1 game. I like the variety of monsters you get to fight, the quests. It's got a really fun story, and it's just a really fun game that I can't wait to beat. So let me know if you guys ever played Darkstone for the PlayStation 1, or maybe you played it on PC. Really fun isometric action RPG I think you guys should check out. I'd like to know about the games that you guys are currently playing, and if you have a recommendation on a game you think I might enjoy, let me know, as I'm always looking for new games to play and experience. I want to thank you guys for watching. Take care. You guys have an amazing day, and Sleepy will see you next time.